Nano Machine. Bai, Ang Hongweolja. Chapter 206. I Will Not Forget This Debt. Part 1. Li Hamming's internal damage was too severe that it felt like he would fall any time, but Hamming held on and used his running skill. He had fought Sahin by himself, so he knew how powerful their enemy was. If he was too slow, there was a chance for Crown Prince Chun Yoan to die. Li Hamming quickly ran toward the training ground and saw cultists closing in from outside. Left Guardian Li Hamming, reporting to the Lord. Li Hamming got to the Lord Chun Yuzhong and was barely able to kneel with his one knee. Every cultist around the area became grim at the sight of Li Hamming with severe injury. Li Hamming was one of the top 10 powerful warriors of the cult, so if he was injured this badly, then it meant the enemy was very powerful. The Lord asked, "Where is the enemy?" "At the library building. Crown Prince is fighting the Blade God. 6 Martial Clan. Why you must go, quickly." Left Guardian. Li Hamming then fell due to severe pain, and Great Guardian Marakim quickly ran over and checked on his state and had warriors to have Li Hamming sent over to the medical room. Blade God 6 Martial Clan. The Lord became grim after knowing who the intruder was, and tried to run toward the library. But Great Guardian stopped him. "Please, you must wait, my lord." "What is the meaning of this?" Great Guardian? Lord asked back uncomfortably, and Marakim sent a telepathic message. "My lord. Your internal damage is not fully healed yet from the last battle. I will take the lead." "Alright." Chun Yuzhong then nodded. Other elders were scattered over 4 castle gates, and only elders that followed the Lord here was 4th Elder Ja Kinkang and 10th Elder In Moha. Marakim then quickly ran toward the library along with 2 elders. After sending them ahead, the Lord moved toward the library along with warriors and saw a satchel that Li Hamming dropped. "Hold. Bring that over to me." "Yes, my lord." A warrior took up the satchel and brought it over to the Lord. Chun Yuzhong ordered it to be unpacked, and it dropped cut arms and human skins that were preserved with various medications. "What is this?" The Lord did not know the presence of underground treasure vault, so he didn't know about the existence of these remains. But what was strange was that the satchel did not contain skill books from the sword demon. And for Marakim, fitting to his nickname Wind God, he was able to get to the library faster than other elders. How can this be? Marakim couldn't believe what he was seeing. He imagined to find Chun Yoan having a hard time dealing against an enemy from Blade God's 6 Martial Clan, but what he saw was beyond his imagination. What he saw was Chun Yoan shooting past through the enemy like a black streak of light. How can such sword formation exist? It is perfect in every way. There seemed to be no flaw in the sword formation that Yoan just used. What's more surprising was the black sword that Yoan had wielded. It was far and dark, but Marakim quickly acknowledged it to be a legendary sword. Black sword? It wasn't just dark, which would indicate if it was made from cold steel, but the entire blade was actually truly black. Marakim's 2 eyes that showed through his mask shook. Black sword, black sword? Wait. That sword must be... That's when the black sword scattered into pieces and formed itself as an arm guard over Yoan's wrist. Yoan then realized Great Guardian Marakim had came and flinched as he turned. Great Guardian? Chun Yoan bit on his lips. He used the sword force of the Sky Demon's 5th formation in order to take care of the enemy before other cultists arrive, but he mistakenly revealed himself using the sword skill and even exposed the existence of the Sky Demon's sword. It was a secret that he never told to anyone. That's when 2 other elders arrived at where Marakim stood. Great Guardian. What has happened, huh? 4th Elder Ja Kinkang then found Chun Yoan standing on the dead body of Sahin the Blade Fist. Ja Kinkang thought they would still be fighting, but the fight was already over. By the gods, did he just killed warrior from Blade God's 6 Martial Clan alone? Ja Kinkang frowned. He had fought against warrior from Blade God's 6 Martial Clan on the battle at Jerkhang Castle, so he knew how dangerous these foes were. Is he a monster? He already thought Chun Yoan was a monster when Yoan killed Mu Jinwan, but this proved Chun Yoan was much more powerful than other elders. Unlike Ja Kinkang, 10th Elder In Moha quickly came over to Yoan and asked for his safety. "Crown Prince. Are you unhurt?" "I am fine." His injuries were already healed by Nano, so he was okay. Only thing he was concerned was the Great Guardian witnessing his Sky Demon sword. Yoan heard from Left Guardian that Guardian succeeded will of the Sword Demon, but he also heard that Great Guardian was a most loyal servant to the current Lord. "Crown Prince, it's good that you're safe." But unlike his concern, Great Guardian Marakim only asked for Yoan's safety and did not mention the Sky Demon sword. What is he thinking? Chapter 207. I Will Not Forget This Debt. Part 2. Yoan became curious, but soon the Lord and other warriors arrived at the library. The Lord wasn't all that excited when he saw Sahin's dead body. It simply looked like he was penetrated to death to untrained eyes, but the Lord saw a clear mark of sword trace over it. Is this really his doing? If it was, then it meant Chun Yoan did not use his best against Mu Jinwan. The Lord was now becoming more wary of Chun Yoan. After looking at the sword trace for a long time, the Lord then turned his attention to the underground treasure vault. Was the enemy after this place? Great Guardian Marakim hesitated. They managed to defend themselves against from enemy, but it led to another problem. This incident had revealed the existence of the underground treasure vault that Guardians had kept it secret for generations. 0. I asked, is this the place that the enemy came after? That is correct, my lord. The Lord then frowned and walked down to the vault. The vault had nothing left, however. There was only a faint sign of something being burnt down. All skill books left by Sword Demon were completely burned. Such place was hidden under the demonic academy. This was a secret that even the Lord himself did not know, but the enemy somehow knew and came after it. This made the Lord become very uncomfortable. He then glared at Great Guardian Marakim who stood aside him. So, you were hiding this from me? Every guardian and ones who stood guard in this library had lied to the Lord about the truth of this place. Marakim sensed the Lord's anger and became grim. What is this? And for Chun Yoan, he was surprised by what he saw that was inside the satchel. He thought enemies came here to retrieve the martial art from Sword Demon, but it wasn't. Only ones that enemies from Blade God's 6 martial clan wanted as the remains of Blade God himself. So, they weren't after skill books from Sword Demon? Yoan then realized that the enemy, Sahin, knew Sword Demon's sword skill. But if they were descendants of the Blade God, then why they wanted remains that contained Blade God's blade marks? That was a question that couldn't be answered. The night became very frantic for the entire demonic cults. Guardian warriors searched through the demonic academy for any possible remaining enemies, and took care of dead bodies of guards at the library. All elders and warriors were also called to search the entire castle for any more possible enemies, but there were no more traces of any other enemies. But that was obvious. Demonic cult had every cultist to carry medals that proved of themselves who they were and took control of everyone who entered the castle, that made hard for sneaking into the castle with the normal route. And at the hall of the feast, there were hundreds of guards standing guard over one groups. They were guests from the Yulin clan. I wonder how long will our lockdown will remain. Moyang Kong spoke from his seat with a frown. Every guests from the Yulin clan were locked at the hall of the feast for the night. We have to prove our innocence for the alliance, Moyang. Be patient. Peng Chungwan spoke, but he too was frustrated by their state. However, enemies had snuck in through their group so they couldn't object against the cult's decision. They too would have done the same if the situation was the other way around. Jigel Sohi then spoke to both. We have told them what we know, so they will make decisions soon. I ask you two leaders to be more patient while we wait. I understood, strategist Jigel. Alright. All 4 enemies from this incident entered the castle faking themselves as guards of Jigel Sohi. After getting out of the hypnosis, she remembered everything again. I didn't expect them to use me like that. She was on her way down south, after being designated as a representative of the Yulin clan in regards to the alliance. While on her way to be with 2 leaders who were staying at Kongsu Castle, she was ambushed by mysterious enemies. But she remembered until being ambushed, and when she got back to her senses, she was already within the forces of Justice Clan, on their parade. What's more mysterious was that until the moment her hypnosis broke, she recognized 4 guards as her original guards. I explained this to them. But this wasn't enough to prove their innocence. She had attacked Crown Prince under hypnosis, so this acted against their innocence. Even with her intelligence, she couldn't find any other way but to wait. And there was one more thing that concerned her most. I moved as a secret mission, only those who knew my mission were those of 17 leaders. It was possible that there were spies among 17 leaders of the Yulin clan. That was the only possible way to find her secret route and ambush her. I have to prove my innocence and return to my clan. Chapter 208. I Will Not Forget This Debt. Part 3. But the problem didn't seem to solve itself quickly. She then looked over to people gathered on the left side of the hall. They were warriors from Yulin clan who were under hypnosis and attacked cultists. And there were also clan leaders from cultists who were hypnotized, also kept separately on the other side. And there were others who were checking on each group. These were doctors led by demon Dr. Baek Jong-woo, checking on those who were hypnotized. There seems to be no issue. And overnight, Baek Jong-woo and his doctors couldn't find anything. They had thought hypnosis had made some kind of trace, but there was nothing that seemed to be out of place. Doctor. Another doctor who checked on foods from the party came over to Baek Jong-woo. What did you find? There is no poison on any drinks or foods. I see. As expected. Baek Jong-woo nodded. There was no trace on the ones that were hypnotized, so he didn't expect to find anything from the food either. All foods prepared in the palace were already searched and examined carefully beforehand. Crown Prince is wrong. The reason for doctors to do this extensive search was because of Chun Yo-won. He had asked the Lord to proceed with searching for any possible substance that might have caused hypnosis. It was Chun Yo-won who found people under hypnosis, so the Lord thought he had a point and ordered the demon doctor to go ahead with the investigation. But the result came as a failure. He sighed. That's when all warriors in the hall bowed to one that entered. Crown Prince. Chun Yo-won had finally arrived at the hall. Baek Jong-woo then walked over to him with an exhausted look. Crown Prince, you are here. Dr. Baek, you have done good work. Did you find anything? Yo-won asked and Baek Jong-woo shook his head. We investigated every warrior who was hypnotized and foods prepared in the hall, but we couldn't find anything, Prince. It seems that hypnosis wasn't caused by a substance. There wasn't anything in the food? No, my prince. Chun Yo-won frowned. He did not think his guess of something hidden inside the food have hypnotized these people would be wrong. Was the clap really all that needed for a hypnosis? That was strange. If hypnosis was such an easy thing, then it should have hypnotized everyone in the hall. Can I take a look at it myself? Of course. Baek Jong-woo nodded but he sighed. All doctors had investigated through the night, but Yo-won didn't seem to accept the truth. It's a waste of time. Baek Jong-woo then began to order doctors to return to their posts. If this was really an act of a magic, then it didn't seem like there would be any findings of substances. Yo-won stood in the middle of the hall and looked at round tables. There weren't anything in the food. If poison was used in such a direct way, it is impossible to be hidden from all of these experienced warriors. Yo-won thought for a long moment and saw a glass and the liquor bottle. He then thought about the hypnotizer ringing his glass against the bottle. Yo-won grabbed the glass. What made him allow to hypnotize with, wait? Yo-won then realized something and checked on the glass and chopsticks. You need to put your mouth against the glass or chopsticks if you want to eat. Yo-won ordered Nano. Nano, can you check if there is any poison or weird substance on the chopstick or the glass? Yes, master. Please place your hand on the target you wish to analyze. Yo-won then began to place his finger over glasses and chopsticks on the hall. Baek Jong-woo and other doctors became confused at what Yo-won was doing. What is he doing? Why is he touching those glasses and chopsticks? After Yo-won walked through every chopsticks and glasses over on the round table, he turned over some glasses upside down. After walking through all tables, he then came over to warriors from Yulin clan who were hypnotized and spoke. Do you know where you sat last night? Why yes, we remember. Then please go back to your last night's seat. They weren't sure what Yo-won was up to, but they had to prove their innocence so they walked to their seat and sat down. What is he doing, huh? What? Baek Jong-woo and other doctors became shocked. All warriors from Yulin clan were seating down on the seat where Yo-won had placed the glass upside down. What is this? How did he find out where they were seating down? Yo-won then grabbed one of the glass that placed upside down over to the doctors. Can you taste the part where you drink with the tip of your tongue? Baek Jong-woo hesitated for a bit and tasted it with his tongue. Then he mumbled with a shocked look. Is this opium poppy? Opium poppy. It was a flower that was often used to create a drug opium. It was also used by doctors to use it as a painkiller on surgery, that can use to paralyze the central nervous system and create hypnosis. How did he find this out? Is he really the Prince Chun Yo-won I knew years ago? Baek Jong-woo became shocked as he looked at Chun Yo-won. Chapter 209. I Will Not Forget This Debt. Part 4. The Lord's Palace of the Demonic Cult. It was the most lavish and largest building in the demonic cult's castle, and home to the Lord himself. And at the training room inside the palace, a middle-aged man walked out drenched in sweat. It was the Lord Chun Yujong. As he shot out his arms like a cross, servants came up to him and took off his clothes and cleaned his body with warm wet towels. The Lord let out a deep, exhausted sigh and looked down at the injury that ran across his right shoulder to his chest. He had pushed out a lot of blade energy that came into his body, but it still had side effects. It seemed he required at least 10 more days in meditation to fully recover his organs that were damaged from blade energy. After his servants cleaned him, they dressed him in a new robe and the Lord walked over to another place. It was the underground floor of the palace. The Lord opened one of the 6 steel doors and cold air seeped out from it. When the Lord lit the torch, it showed inside of the room that was created with cold stones just like the underground treasure vault of the library. There was a table at the center that had cut arms and skins that was originally stored at the underground vault. Chen Yuzhong placed his hand over the preserved arm that was covered with blade markings and closed his eyes. He imagined the blade work over at the arm and clearly felt the power of blade skill that was used to create the damage. It was hard to imagine the formation itself, but he was able to sense one thing. It's very familiar from the blade will that I felt from him. Thinking of the man brought pain to his chest. There was a man that came out of nowhere suddenly when the Lord Chen Yuzhong was able to kill one of the powerful warriors from Blade God's 6 martial clan. The man was more powerful than the other 3. Chen Yuzhong was one of the top 5 warriors of Jianghu, and the entry level of the Supreme Master level warrior, but he couldn't even stand for 10 formations. The man easily countered Sword Art of the Sky Demon without any special formation and injured him easily. It is not you. That was the last word he spoke to the Lord Chen Yuzhong. The Lord grabbed on the table and the table cracked. Thinking of the word that the man said raised him in rage. It wasn't sure what he meant, but it was enough to make him furious from embarrassment. It was then. Someone banged on the steel door. Who is it? It's me, Marakim, my lord. Okay. I will go up to the office. Yes, my lord. Chen Yuzhong held back his emotion and got out of the room and went up to the Lord's office above ground. Great Guardian who was waiting outside the office followed the Lord in. The Lord sat down on the lavish throne and raised his hand to order Great Guardian to report. Marakim then began to report everything that happened while investigating through the castle. The Lord then asked, "What did you do with those?" Chen Yuzhong just said those, but Marakim understood immediately and lowered his voice. "We have disposed of porcelain bottles that we replaced from the hall at the Wojer Peaks Creek. Did you make sure that no one will find it? We have cleaned all the bottles with water and shattered it before we threw it down on the creek, so there is no chance for that to happen, my lord. Good work." What were these bottles they were talking about? All bottles and foods at the party were not removed due to investigation. But it seemed Great Guardian Marakim had taken out bottles that contained liquors from the party and disposed of it. It was yesterday night when Yoan went ahead to the demonic academy for another enemy. The Lord ordered to quarantine forces of justice and seal the castle to block anyone from coming in and out of the castle. That's when Marakim came over to the Lord quietly with a bottle. "My lord, there seems to be something within the liquors in these bottles." "Something?" The Lord ordered one of the warriors from Guardians to drink it. The warrior, after drinking it, became numb and lost his conscience. The Lord and Great Guardian then found out this was the reason for hypnosis. "I will gather these and have Demon Doctor to analyze it." The Lord then shook his head at the Great Guardian. Then, "No, we don't need to do that. Gather these bottles and dispose it so no one will find it." "What?" The Great Guardian became confused. Chen Yuzhong then explained what he had thought up in that short moment. "This is a good thing. We will take upper hand in this alliance by using this incident." "Oh," Great Guardian gasped. He didn't think Chen Yuzhong will find a way to make this situation for their one good. The Lord had found a way to make a reason to oppress the Yulin clan, even through the alliance. We don't need to give them a chance to get away. There were even clan leaders from the cult who were hypnotized. If it was found out that liquors were poisoned, then Yulin clan was sure to blame for the cult for not examining through the liquors that were served in the party. But if the evidence was lost, then only evidence left was that the Yulin clan had allowed enemies to sneak into the cult's castle. "As you wish, my lord." This was how the bottles were replaced. Even if searching ensued through the night, liquors inside replaced bottles contained no poison, so there was no evidence to prove the Yulin clan's innocence. "Are doctors still investigating?" "Yes, my lord. We should call them off now." This was on intention. The Lord had contained members from Yulin clan at the hall purposely so that they can see cults had investigated publicly in front of everyone. Yulin clan had 2 of 17 members and their strategist Jigel Sohi with them. This was why the Lord allowed Chen Yuan's request to investigate. This was to ensure no complaints being made for lack of investigation. "Have doctors to return to their stations and imprison members from Yulin, huh?" The Lord closed his mouth as he heard someone approaching from outside the office. Soon, warriors who stood guard at the entrance shouted into the office. My lord, the demon doctor awaits your permission to enter. Chapter 210. I will not forget this debt. Part 5. He was about to order to have them stop, but since the doctor was here himself, then it seemed he was here to report that he couldn't find anything. Good. The lord nodded and ordered for the doctor to come in. Demon Dr. Baek Jong-gu then came up with a plate covered with white clothes and placed down on the ground and knelt. My lord. Welcome. How did the investigation go? Demon Doctor then looked up and answered. My lord, I have found out the evidence. What? Chun Yujong's eyebrow raised. What was the doctor thinking? He had ordered Mara Kim to dispose of every piece of evidence, so he was confused and couldn't hide his feeling at the report. Baek Jong-gu then took off the clothes over at the plate. There were glasses on the plate and the lord became shocked. A glass? He then realized what had happened. He only ordered bottles to be replaced as the situation was taking a quick turn, so he couldn't think deep, so he didn't imagine someone would find evidence on a glass. Luckily, glasses had nothing in it. There's nothing in there. Then it shouldn't be. Chun Yujong became frowned and Baek Jong-gu pointed at the glass and explained. We have found remains of various mixtures such as opium poppies that can create illusions from the glass. Ugh. The lord became wordless at frustration. It was a mistake for him to not order for the replacement of glasses, but this was surely a keen finding since there was nothing that was found from bottles. I should have told the doctor for the plan. The lord regretted his choice. He had to talk to the doctor to disregard any evidence even if he finds one. It was an investigation being made in front of members of the Yulin clan, so the lord thought it was better for the demon doctor to not know, to make the investigation look real. Demon doctor thought the lord was uncomfortable because of the incident itself, so he brought up another topic to ease the moment. But the crown prince did a good job in finding this evidence. What? Crown prince found this? The lord frowned at the report. Chun Yujong was already frustrated for his plan to fail after this finding. That boy? The lord became wordless for a second and asked. Is that the real reason for the illusion? Yes, my lord. Taking this substance will make you fall under an illusion. With a caster experienced an illusion, it is likely that it will happen. Especially if it is used against ones with weaker internal energy. But what's concerning is that the amount in the glass isn't enough. As Baek Jong-gu explained further, the lord became grimmer. It requires more amount for the effect, but liquors inside the bottle didn't have any problem. Crown Prince guesses that bottles might have been replaced, so he said he will go check the supply of the palace by himself too. Great Guardian. Yes, my lord. Chun Yujong interrupted Baek Jong-gu before he can finish. Baek Jong-gu then realized Chun Yujong wasn't reacting to his expectation and found out something was strange and became silent. We have found out how these enemies use their illusion, so let our guests be freed. And for Crown Prince, have him stop the further investigation. As you wish, my lord. When the Great Guardian walked out of the office, Baek Jong-gu finally realized. The lord knows about the poison already. The lord narrowing his eyebrow was his distinct way of showing his emotion when things weren't going as he planned. So it was the lord who disposed of the bottles. When Chun Yoan said he will check the supply of bottles, Baek Jong-gu said he will talk with the lord to report on possible spies in the supply lines of the palace. But it seemed that wasn't necessary. And at the kitchen storage of the palace, Chun Yoan was checking on the bottles with the staff but had to stop when Mara Kim appeared. Chun Yoan insisted that there might be spies, but Mara Kim stopped him and explained the plan that the lord had made originally. He had planned it in that short moment? Yoan knew that the lord was good at planning schemes, from experience of him being used as a bait when he was at the demonic cult. But it was surprising to see it again. But Yoan thought that the plan wasn't perfect. Did you know of this plan from the beginning? Mara Kim nodded at Yoan's question. He too thought that this plan will give the cult upper hand in their alliance with the Yulin clan, so he didn't find any problem. Then it must be you who took care of those bottles. Yes, it is. My prince. If it was me, I would not have disposed of all the bottles. Do you have some other plans that you think of? If we analyze the bottle, then we can prepare against the same poison at least. Ah! Mara Kim gasped with astonishment. He even thought about after. If they did analyze the poison as Yoan just said, they could have prepared themselves to defend against such a hypnotic attack. Mara Kim was ashamed for the plan to go fail, but he now changed his thought that it was lucky that Yoan had found small remainings of the poison. It's just my thought. I'll be on my way then. Yoan placed down the bottle and walked out, and Mara Kim looked at Yoan. Ah! People from Yulin clan became relieved. They were worried that their innocence will not be proven, but they were freed as their suspicion was freed from charges with the evidence of them being hypnotized was found. Haha, it's good that our suspicion is lifted. Peng Chunwan spoke and Moyang Kong nodded. He spoke in discomfort. It's good, but it's probably because they can't undo the alliance for their safety either. They can't fight against us now, maybe that's why they decided to let us go. You have a point. They were against the worst enemy called Blade God's Six Martial Clan, so they couldn't bear to fight against each other. Moyang Kong believed that no harm will come to them in such situation. But Jiggle Sohee had a different opinion. No. The cult could have taken upper hand with our alliance because of his incident. If they are taking back a step like this was due to Chun Yowan's help. If he didn't solve the mystery behind hypnosis, then Yulin clan could have been in difficult shoes. Crown Prince Chun Yowan. Starting from herself, creating problems under hypnosis, Chun Yowan was a sole person who stopped the party to celebrate the alliance to become a bloodbath. He had chosen a greater good. I didn't expect to find such person in the cult. It wasn't Yowan's intention, but Jiggle Sohee was greatly astounded by Yowan's action. She then thought Yowan was also very intelligent. The cult could have taken the upper hand, but they rather gave us a debt that we will have to repay. Maybe he is the real person that we should be wary of. Although her thought was derived from her misunderstanding of intention, Jiggle Sohee, second strategist of the Yulin clan, now paid the most attention to Crown Prince Chun Yowan. I will not forget this debt, Crown Prince Chun Yowan.